Hey, welcome to the Prophetic Art Tin tutorial. My name is Chris. I'm an artist and an evangelist, and I love to let others know the good news of Jesus in creative ways. So I've come up with a prophetic art tin that has got everything that you need to use in a cafe or a pub or out in public or at home to paint for people. Pictures that will bring words of encouragement and comfort and strength. Pictures that will speak from God's heart to the hearts of those that you paint for. So in this tin, you've got the most amazing water carrier, which is 100 millilitres. You fill up, you've got a sponge for brushes, you've got some masking tape, mixing pots, you've got the most amazing gouache paints. Gouache you can use like watercolour, but you can also use it more thickly. Couple of brushes, a big brush for some of the big strokes that I'm going to teach you in this tutorial, and then we've got a fine brush for some of the detail that I'm going to show you. We've also got the two most beautiful pens, a white pen, a gel ink pen for some detail that I'm going to show how we can put that onto paintings. And then we've got a fine liner, one of the best, and you can use it with paints and watercolours. It's fade and water resistant. And then there's 30 pieces of paper to get you going to paint 30 pictures that will speak to people that they are known and loved by God. So I'm going to teach you 4 new techniques for how to communicate something from God's heart for people around you. Now, these 4 techniques, the words and the specifics that are for those around you, well, that'll be up to you, but I'm going to show you ways in which you can paint something that will connect with people. And the first is an anchor. Such a simple symbol, but it's a word about being anchored into God, being in that secure place, perhaps in a place of storms. So I'm using my kit. This is a kit that I've been using already out and about. I'm going to just take some paper, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of paper on top of the tin. And the way that I'm going to do that is through the masking tape that is included in the tin. I've got some bits already that I've torn. And this just ensures that the paper doesn't warp. Also, if it's windy, ensures that the paper doesn't blow away. So just simply put it on top of the tin, and that becomes my painting studio. So we're going to start with the pen. Now come over and have a little look. It's ever so simple. I'm going to just draw a circle for the top of the anchor, and then we're just going to bring it round, down, and then I'm going to do like a wave, like that. Arrow on the top, another wave. It can be entirely up to you how you draw this anchor, but that is the simplicity of it. Might want to do some shading with the pen, give a bit of depth to the anchor, and you might want to actually put a symbol of a cross on the top. Now this, you can put whatever you feel for whoever you're painting for. It might be about security. It might be about having a place of rest. And you could, if you wanted to, put a verse like this one. I've put from Hebrews chapter 6 verse 19. Hope like a strong, unbreakable anchor. You might just want to put the word hope. Another way of incorporating it could be an anchor connected to a boat. I don't know why the sail's up there, but this is just something that I was playing with. And you might want to put something about trust. Whatever the word is for the person that you are painting for, the symbol of the anchor is such a simple way of connecting with people. So the next technique that I want to teach you is so simple. It's two people walking on a path with mountains in the background. And the message that can come through this is faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. The two people, it could be a couple, it could be perhaps walking with God, that God is with you. Now, I painted a similar scene when I served as chaplain on the island of Bardsey, and I met a couple, and I just felt I needed to paint this scene with the message, there is one who sticks closer than a brother. As I gave this simple picture, the lady who I painted for said, but how did you know? I said, how did I know what? She said, the reason I'm here today is because of my brother who I'm so worried about. I just needed to get away and find a place where I could clear my head. How did you know that? And I was able to talk with her about Jesus, who sticks closer than a brother, one who walks with us and loves to be with us. So the technique is ever so simple. You start with the fine liner. Come over and I'll show you what I mean. So all I'm going to do is do some very simple lines in the background to indicate some mountains. However you want to do it. Simple lines. Then I'm going to just put in a bit of a path. And then I want two people I'm going to paint after. Now the way that I'm going to draw these two people is carrots with a dot on the top. So you kind of do a carrot and a carrot, do a dot and a dot. Then I'm going to put in some simple lines to indicate people walking. Ever so simple. Now I'm going to put a little bit of colour. Now to give some depth, I'm going to do some grasses in the forefront. The message that I simply want to bring with this is God is with you. God is with you. And it's an opportunity to talk about God revealed to us through the Lord Jesus with us. Now, the painting. I'm going to use some of my mixing pots. I've put a couple of blues in here already. With the large paintbrush, I'm just going to do some very simple lines. 2 strokes for the sky. Gonna wash that out. With my other painting pot, I've put 2 different browns, a yellowish brown, a darker brown. I'm just going to follow the lines of the mountain. Doesn't matter about the mess, but the simple strokes. The more simple, the better. Let me show you what I mean. One stroke. Rather than, if you do lots of strokes, It's not quite. There's one. Now I've got some greens that I'm going to use. Here they are. So just 2 tiny little blobs of green, again on the bigger paintbrush for the path. Some of the grasses. Going to turn to the tiny little brush now. Now when this is dry, oh, by the way, the sponge is brilliant, cleaning brushes. So when this is dry, I'll then put some colour in. I might put some detail. Simple message, God is with you. And then I'd give it to someone and say, look, I want to remind you that God isn't far away. I believe in a God who comes to meet with us. So the third technique that I want to teach you is a simple feather. Feathers have been so important to people this past year in the pandemic. This sense of God overshadowing, covering people with his wings, the protection. Psalm 91 has been an absolute favourite for me to announce over my family and also people who I have met at a safe distance. So, feather. The temptation with painting a feather, come over here and I'll show you, is you think of feathers as individual lines. So the temptation is to do this. Line, 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 line. Line, 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 line. A few more lines. But the best way that I have found to paint a feather is through splodges. So let me show you. We're going to use the fine brush later, but taking the chunky brush, need a bit of water on there. I'm going to do splodges. Splodge. Oh, excuse me. Splodge. Gonna let that dry. Gonna show you just another very simple splodging technique. Using a couple of different colours now. Get the shape of the feather. Now, I'm going to let that dry. I've got one that I prepared earlier. Now with the pen, I'm simply going to do a line through the middle and then add a couple of the lines that make up a feather. Might want to do more of the quill there. Psalm 91. I might put some verses from Psalm 91 of God overshadowing, protecting, the promises of him being ever so near. Let me just show you very quickly with this feather. It's painted to show the feather more on the bottom. You might want to put a little bit of white in there. A bit of light. This white gel pen is just fantastic. Showing a bit of light. two ever so simple examples of feathers. What I've done, by the way, just to create a little bit more kind of depth, is I've just used some splodges, tapping with my paintbrush. Just to create a little bit more of a whole picture. Such simple method and technique, but one that you can then add a message. Perhaps someone who needs that sense of hiding under the shelter of the Almighty. One of my favourite psalms has been about, until the disaster has passed, I will take refuge in the shadow of your wings. So the fourth technique that I want to show you. Now remember, these are just 4 simple ways of how to engage with people. There are hundreds and hundreds of different things that you can do. So I want to encourage you, when you get your prophetic art kit, I want you to pray. What is it that you could paint? What symbol, what colour that will encourage, strengthen and comfort someone who you are painting for? These 4 techniques are going to get you going, but there are hundreds of different ways that you can paint. This is so simple. It's taking some of the darker colours of the gouache paint. Now I'm going to splodge onto the paper 2 pea-size splodges of this paint. By the way, this paint will last you ages. You've got 30 sheets of paper, it's going to last you hundreds. So get yourself some more paper, keep going after you've done 30. By the way, practicing is fine. You know, getting it wrong is okay. So all I'm going to do with the chunky paintbrush with plenty of water, I'm going to do some simple circles filling up this bit of paper. Just like so. I want it quite thick, want it quite dark, like so. Now I've got some that I've done in different ways. So this is through lines. This one is through circles. It's a bit of a combination. And all I'm going to do is taking the white gel marker. Come and have a look. I'm going to do a very simple light bulb. So the white gel marker works over the paint. And I'm going to do a simple light bulb shape, like so. I need some of that chunkiness on the bottom. But then I want to do some of the filament. So I'm just going to do 2 little blocks like so. I'm going to do 2 lines going up for the filament. Now in between, I want to write something that is going to connect with the person that I am painting for. So I'm going to pause, I'm going to pray, I'm going to write, what does that person need to keep them bright, hopeful? What do they need? Or what have they got that's a gift from God? So I'm just going to write a very simple word as part of the filament, love. I'm going to do some childlike lines shining out with the pen. And it's such a simple technique. Let me just do one more. So it's a nearly full circle. Coming down for the bulb. Doesn't have to look the same as the last one. Going to do some chunky lines here. I'm doing this ever so quickly to show you the simplicity of painting for people in public or at home. Doesn't have to be precise. I'm just using line. got a word of hope. Now what I could do is add even more light over the top. So I'm going to use yellow. Going to grab the white. Going to put that in there in the mixing pot. By the way, these mixing pots, you can just keep on reusing them. Now with the fine paintbrush, I'm going to get a load on there. I'm going to layer it over the dark. Get a bit of a sense of the roundness of the light bulb. And there you have it. Something so simple that you can give to people to remind them of the God who knows them. But listen, I want to encourage you. Come on round. Let me just encourage you. So I want to encourage you not to just copy what I've done. Okay, the techniques might be helpful. This pen is a beauty. This one is going to be so valuable in terms of getting the lines in some of the detail. But I want you to pray. So the Prophetic Art Kit is all about praying and practicing listening to God who loves to speak. So as you sit, as you start to create, pray. It's what I do in cafes and pubs, is I just sit there and pray, and often my heart is racing and I'm not sure what I'm going to paint for someone. So may you have the boldness to pray and to paint what you hear, what you believe God wants to say to those around you. God bless you.